Hey guys, welcome back to Sports with Mono and Mono. And look who I have with us today, the other Mono. Welcome back, brother.
Well, thank you, Jim. Glad to be back. It's been a tough sledding for 3 weeks, and
Sure.
I can't tell you how happy I am to be back with a
Well, it's
sense of
great to have
normalcy.
you back. And like I said, we've gotten some good emails and feedback from our fans. They've missed you too. So
Yep, and I want to thank our listeners for all the words of encouragement, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate it.
excellent. Well, today is January 22nd, 2022. And we got a lot to cover today, and there's going to be a lot of obviously NFL speak, but I'm going to turn the mic over to Steve with this week's monologue.
Yeah, I mean, again, the monologue is going to be personal here, regarding COVID. It's not sports related. Um, it's been 3 weeks since I was diagnosed with it, and it just gives you a deep appreciation. We've talked about it. It's been a pandemic for 2 years now or so. Um, the symptoms hit everybody, maybe harder, to each his own. But deep appreciation of family, friends, my kids, and the ability not even to sit here and do a show. I was that sick, so I wanted to thank everybody for the well wishes, and
Yep.
I actually had a birthday last week, and I was gonna talk about my Dallas Cowboys in my monologue, but we'll get to them over the
Oh,
course of
we'll
the
get to
show.
it.
And but again, I just wanted to thank everybody for the well wishes, and back to
Excellent.
normalcy, hopefully. Okay, so
Excellent.
thank you all.
And listen, just to kind of leverage off Steve's monologue, and it was COVID, and I did mention that my other brother Chris, and again, a lot of well wishes from our audience, and he's doing well. Actually,
Yep,
released from the hospital, so that's real positive news. So
yeah. Our brother Chris really went through the ringer. He was in the hospital for about 43 days or so, and
yeah,
I know he's going to be watching the show, and we love you, and get better.
okay.
Yeah.
And listen, our monologue and opening segment is sponsored by Coriano Trucking of Summer Hill, New York. Um, like we always said, what it is, where it's going, and when it needs to get there, they'll take care of the business. So Steve, let's jump right into it, and first, why don't we do a little bit of a recap on last week's, and
Why?
it
What did
wasn't
I miss for 3 weeks? What went on for 3 weeks?
well. Last week was wild card weekend, obviously, and with all fairness to, I had a rough week. This 3-3 record for me. Why don't we just go right down and just touch on those, and we talk about the Vegas Cincinnati game. A little bit of controversy there about the whistle blow, but I don't think that impacted the game. I think we saw Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, which is going to be that's going to be a Montana to Rice combo for years and years to come. So
Yeah,
really no surprise there.
my first observation about that Cincinnati Las Vegas game was, to your point, of Burrow to Chase. I thought Chase, after about 5 minutes of the game, was going to have like 39 catches for about 2,000 yards.
Yeah.
That is going to be a very special combination. Chase turns out to be the right pick. He got off to a somewhat slow start, I guess. Training camp dropping passes, this, that, and the other thing. But
Yeah.
that is going to be a lethal combination.
Yeah.
Burrow to Chase. It's
Yeah.
just be special for the next 10 years.
And again,
Barring
this is one of the ones that I didn't get right. I maybe I had more confidence in David Carr than I should have. I just I don't know if he's got it in him. I really don't.
No, I had Cincinnati in the game because they were home, because of Burrow and what we talked about. I think Cincinnati got their victory, which is good. I don't foresee them winning today in Tennessee when we get to that. Derek Carr, to me, is an enigma, so to speak. I think he's a good quarterback, but I don't think he is the guy that's going to get
Yeah.
the
I mean,
Raiders.
He's being
the
paid
next
like
level.
he's being paid like he's the elite guy, and I just don't see it either.
He's a good guy. He's a good team leader. Everything about Derek Carr, I have nothing bad to say about him. But don't be surprised if Aaron Rodgers winds up in Las Vegas. I'm just saying, don't be surprised.
It's not out of the realm of possibility. So let's put Derek Carr in the Kirk Cousins category. Really good.
That's fair. That's
very
fair.
well paid. But until you win something, you're never gonna be in the conversation of the Bradys and the Rodgers and et cetera, Mahomes, whatever, right?
Yeah, I mean, let's face it. The exclusive club is Tom Brady, right? Aaron Rodgers, yes, and Patrick Mahomes.
Bingo.
Period. Yep. And if we can now segue to the Dallas Cowboys, I've been getting nailed all week about Dak Prescott. And I said I'm a Dak guy, but I'm still a Dak guy. But Dak is not going to get us. He's just not going to get us a Super Bowl championship.
It's great to hear a Dallas Cowboy fan actually admit that.
He's still a top 10 quarterback. Did I have to pay him? Yes. Is he my quarterback for the next 4 or 5 years? Yes. Sure. I was so disappointed in the Cowboys that I actually did very well past weekend betting. The Cowboys were my one loss. There's no excuses. Everybody was healthy. We're home, and we lay a dud. And we're just not going to win a Super Bowl with Jerry Jones still alive. Just not going to happen. And I don't know if McCarthy's going to come back. He may. I think he will. But the Cowboys, there's no excuses. We had all the pieces. Elliott had a bum knee, big deal. Okay, I'll grant you that. So disappointed in Dallas.
But Steve, if we recap that game, I mean, they just shot themselves in the foot time and time
16
again.
penalties,
inexcusable. So I mean, they lost the game, and they deserved to lose the game because they've been so inconsistent all year long that it's. Anyway, so we're gonna.
And again, the last play, basically the last play of the game, Dak Prescott running down the middle of the field. There's no time, this, that, and the other thing. It's inexplicable. And there was actually a stat that it's the only time it's ever happened in the history of the NFL playoffs that a situation like that the team ran the ball down the middle of the field. So,
and I do want to point out, because I like Dak Prescott. I think he's a classy guy. But the comments after the incident after the game, throwing stuff at the refs, and he subsequently came back and apologized for it. But you know what? We talked about this with a guy like Stephon Diggs a few weeks ago. You're a really outstanding player. Don't fall to the category of, what kind of player I'm talking about. Act like you've been there before, and So anyway, let's move on.
Emotion gets the best of us at sometimes. Again, what can I say?
Yeah. So listen, the New England Buffalo game, it was really never in doubt from the beginning. Buffalo's got a really, really good team. We're going to talk a little bit more about them. Mac Jones is a rookie, and they're just clearly a better team. No real surprise there. Philadelphia, Tampa Bay really was
let's go back to the Buffalo, New England. I was not surprised in the slightest, maybe to the level of the beatdown. Mac Jones is from Florida. He played high school ball in Florida, played at Alabama. And yes, New England went up there 3 weeks ago, and we all know it was windy, and New England threw 3 times, and New England beat them. And the Buffaloes played great since. But going into that game, when you saw the the smoke coming out of the breath, it was freezing up there. And Mac Jones has never played in a game that cold. Also, Buffalo's younger and better. And I had Buffalo all the way, and we'll talk about Buffalo, Kansas City.
All right. And the other kind of the lamest game of the week was Philly, Tampa Bay. I don't think there's any big surprise there.
That was an easy. That was the easiest of the games to pick.
Yep. We covered Dallas, beat themselves. Pittsburgh, Kansas City, another game.
That was another easy one.
Yep. So Patrick Mahomes, did what he needed to do, and but here was the surprise game which I missed because I took the Cardinals, and one of our loyal listeners had a great line. He said, "Kyler Murray played more like Bill Murray." James Walsh, you get credit for that one.
Yes, he does. Yes. It was
So
a tough day for
big
Kyler Murray.
surprise to me. That was a big surprise.
Well, it shouldn't be a surprise going forward because this is the third consecutive year under Cliff Kingsbury that the Cardinals have, quote unquote, shit the bed.
I thought they turned the corner, though. I thought they turned the corner a little bit.
No, and then if you flip it to the Rams, the Rams look good.
They do.
They do.
We're going to talk a little bit more about that coming up.
The Rams deserve to win. The Rams just beat the Cardinals.
Yeah, they did. They did. So we had to reevaluate, whether Kyler Murray is the player that you build your foundation around. We'll see, but
he is.
They were clearly outmatched by the Rams. Clearly,
yes, they were.
Yep.
Matthew Stafford gets his first career playoff victory, so
which is actually really good. It kind of takes the monkey off his back because we've known that he's a very talented, decent kid, very nice. But he played on some lousy teams in Detroit, and now he's got a real formidable team, and we're going to talk about that as we go through our picks from this week. And let's jump right into divisional playoff weekend.
Let's.
Okay, we got 4 games on tap. Let's cover the Saturday games first. Cincinnati, Tennessee, and you mentioned, I know where you're leaning already, and I'm with you on this. I think Joe Burrow's going to have his time. He's going to be a stud player in this league for a long time. The one caveat you wonder about, is Ryan Tannehill, capable of taking this team across that finish line? Getting Derrick Henry back is very big, obviously. I like them. I like them today, and I think Cincinnati will get their chance. I just don't think it's this year.
Yeah, I agree. Tennessee is home, rested. Derrick Henry is back. Cincinnati got their first playoff victory in eons, right? We talked about Burrow and Chase and the foundation. Zach Taylor's a nice coach, it seems like. Yep. So things are going well. I mean, Joe Mixon is a good running back, but he's a thug. He's one of those guys I don't root for. Exactly. He's a woman beater, that type of thing. And I'm not going to shy away from things like that. I don't root for guys like that. But Mixon, it doesn't sound like he's going anywhere anytime soon. Yep. Cincinnati, I think, got their playoff victory. I think Tennessee and Derrick Henry, they're home. I think Tennessee advances today, and I'm going to go with Tennessee.
I agree. So the second game on today's schedule is San Francisco Green Bay, and I could do my John Facenda in the frozen tundra because it's gonna be cold. So it's gonna be below. And you brought up the Mac Jones not playing in cold weather kind of thing. Jimmy Garoppolo, same thing, and it's gonna be cold. And to be quite honest with you, I mean, I'm not a big proponent of Jimmy G anyway. I just think he's fragile as a toothpick house kind of thing, and he's always hurt. San Francisco has a real good team, but I think Aaron Rodgers is hungry to prove that he is the real deal, and I like the Packers today.
Yeah, I mean, when we talk home field advantage, this is home field advantage, right? The Packers,
like no other in sports, home field advantage.
Right. So San Francisco, we all know where San Francisco is, and sure, we hear about Candlestick Park, and it was cold in an April baseball game or something. Not like this. It's not going to be Tom Coughlin cold, where his face is about to fall off, but it's going to be cold. Aaron Rodgers is not losing today. Okay, Aaron Rodgers. We shall see. We'll get to the Rams and the Bucks momentarily. But Aaron Rodgers is not losing today. I love the Pack at home here. I think, Cincinnati, San Francisco should be happy with the first, getting that first playoff round. Jimmy G, I don't think will come back next year. I think the Trey Lance era begins next year. Kyle Shanahan's done a good job. San Francisco, again, we talked about him beating Dallas, well deserved. I love the pack today.
But I will, what we did see is, a kind of a star, I think, in the making is this Deebo Samuel for San Francisco.
Well, he's good.
We don't get a chance to see him play that often, but, playoff time, you get to see these guys. And he really
Deebo.
No, but he's an up-and-coming star in this league, too.
Yes, he is.
That's a positive thing. So I think Steve and I are aligned on Saturday's game. So, Steve, let's move into Sunday's game. What do you think?
And again, we didn't talk before the show, and we're going with our own opinions.
We do not. To lead us off with the first game tomorrow, which is the Rams in Tampa Bay. Very, very interesting game.
Oh, my God. So once a year, the definition of insanity, I think a lot of people know the definition, and for those that don't, it's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And every year, this time of year, Tom Brady is in the playoffs. And for me personally, I just can't figure it out how I go against this guy, right? And I'm at the crossroads again this year because of what the Rams did. The Rams beat the Bucs in the regular season. The weather is in Florida. It's going to be ideal conditions.
Perfect.
Aaron Donald, I think the Rams have the ability to get to Brady. And when you get to Brady, you don't get him from the outside. You get him right up the middle, okay? And for some reason, I think with McVay and getting Stafford, I think the Rams can actually pull this off. And I'm going to go with an upset. I'm going to go with the LA Rams at Tampa tomorrow.
Okay.
And again, I'm not going to be surprised if Brady throws 5 touchdown passes and Tampa wins going away. But I have to pick this game, and I'm going with the Rams.
All right. Well, let me give you my perspective on this too. And again, we touched on Stafford, who is, he's an outstanding quarterback in his own right. And we've talked about Aaron Donald and what kind of presence he has. He is a future Hall of Famer. He just causes trouble wherever, the play goes, and he'll run it down. He's that good. And you're right.
And Von Miller has this much gas left in the tank where he can be effective as well.
I get it. But I'm looking at it, this way, kind of like the Bengals and Joe Burrow. Stafford got his first playoff win, and he's got a great supporting cast. And Steve and I have mentioned before, we think Sean McVay is one of the best up and coming young minds in football. We love it. Yeah. So I go back to this with all of that taken into account. I just can't bet against Tom Brady. I think this aligns perfectly for a Rodgers-Brady showdown in the championship game. And I made a mistake of going against Tom Brady in one of last year's playoff game, and I'm not making that mistake again. Yeah. I understand that there's some injuries. Tristan Wirfs is, he's going to be playing on a bad ankle and so forth, but there's something about being the GOAT and of all time that you can overcome certain things like that. And I just see the Rodgers-Brady showdown gonna pan out. And as much as I like the Rams and I really love what they're doing, and they got Aaron Donald on the field, I'm going with Tampa Bay. At least we'll cover this next week, certainly, but at least to get to the championship game. And I just can't make that same mistake twice, Steve.
No, and I wouldn't expect you to. That's why I said insanity. That's afflicting me. The other thing, of course, is the loss of Antonio Brown, who's in lockdown on the 5th floor of the psycho hospital. And
not according to him, he's had some mental health issues. He says, okay.
Well, and again, I mentioned Joe Mixon. Antonio Brown is another one I don't root for. I don't care for. Nice player with Pittsburgh, but a complete just what nothing to do with him.
And that's a logical way to think, but the logical way that
Now,
I
listen,
think,
as a human being, of course, I hope the guy gets his help. I mean,
no, I'm not even talking about that.
I'm not.
I'm just talking
Attila
about,
the Hun
and
here.
again, Leonard Fournette, who impressed me beyond belief in last year's Super Bowl. He's coming back and so forth. I think Tom Brady just has this unmeasurable way of overcoming certain things like that. And to be honest with you, if they put me in the game as a wide receiver, he'd find me. So I don't think the Brown thing is gonna be the downfall here. I think his talent level is above that. He can overcome this. So that's the reason I'm going with Tampa Bay.
The Peyton brothers during the week, like Monday night or what have you, they made a comment about Tom Brady, which actually makes sense. They said Tom Brady is the only quarterback that walks up to the line of scrimmage and knows exactly where he's throwing the ball before the ball is snapped. So he doesn't have to really do these check downs and reads like a quarterback, 1, 2, 3, etc. And if you watch it, it makes sense, right? Because that's his brilliance. That's his ability, his preparation, 7 Super Bowls, and God knows this, that, and the other thing. But if you watch the game, Tom Brady knows exactly where he's throwing that football before he even takes the snap. And that is such a huge advantage, especially like we talked about with Aaron Donald coming in your face
You're right.
4 quarters. So watch out for that.
Let's see how that one pans out. And
the other thing, of course, you think the NFL, my God, they're salivating for Brady Rodgers. You kidding?
Oh, listen, we they're salivating because they got the best quarterbacks in this playoff run, and it's almost a can't miss for the NFL.
And let's remember last year the Bucs beat the Pack, and the Pack didn't kick the field goal.
Yep.
Let's remember that.
All right.
Right.
Now let's go to our 4th and final game, which is really intriguing.
This is the best. This is the best game of the bunch.
I think so too. It's Buffalo at Kansas City, and let me give you my 2 cents. As impressed as I was with Buffalo last week, by running New England out of their own building. They're really, really talented. And I brought this up to one of my Bills fans from Syracuse, Michael Burns. I think Devin Singletary is very underrated as a running back. And I think I love Sean McDonough as a coach. And again, here's where I'm going to break my own rules, right? Because I learned my lesson. I didn't pick Patrick Mahomes last year because who was he playing against was Tom Brady, right? But Patrick Mahomes is a winner. But I think at this point in time, and as inconsistent as Buffalo has been, I really like their chances this time to get back to the championship game. And I'm going with Buffalo. I'm couldn't be more impressed with Josh Allen. And, at some point, this is his 4th year in the league. He's gonna break through this. Not end up like Stafford on a lousy team. He's on a really good team. His talent is going to show that. I'm going against my natural instincts with betting against Patrick Mahomes, but I really like Buffalo this week. Steve, what do you think?
I love Buffalo. I love Josh Allen. I love what they're doing for the past month or so. And Allen has been on fire. I think he's got, if I'm not, like 17 touchdown passes, something like that, something crazy. He's running the ball. He's leading the Bills. However, they're going to Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Kelsey. I'm not betting against the Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium. I think Buffalo will crash through the door in the next couple years, but nope, I'm going with Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs at home. And I'm not even overanalyzing this. You give me Patrick Mahomes at home, and I'm going with that.
Well,
So,
I know your position on Kansas City. When they won that first Super Bowl, you said, there's potential for these guys to win 4 out of the next 6 Super Bowls. They were that talented.
Right, but they've been disappointing the past year or two. Let's be real, okay? I actually thought they'd have 2 Super Bowls by now, but I think they're going to make the Super Bowl. I have no question that they're going to be in the Super Bowl, and it starts with beating Buffalo tomorrow. But Buffalo will be there, and this Buffalo team is different from the Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas,
Bruce Smith.
Yeah, I think they're younger, a little bit younger than where they were at their when they made their run of the 4 straight. Like you said, Sean McDonough, I'm a big fan of. I think Buffalo's going to make noise in the next couple of years, but again, I'm going Kansas City here, and I'm even tipping my hand that Kansas City beats Buffalo, and I don't care who they play next week. Kansas City's going to the Super Bowl.
And I look at it very, very similar, except for the fact that, Buffalo, they got their taste. And I think, they made the championship game last year. And I think this is, they make that big step. And listen, this isn't dismissing Patrick Mahomes at all, because they're going to be in the mix from as long as he's the quarterback. I just think the time is right for Buffalo. They had that taste. They want to finish the job, and I'm looking for that upset this week in Kansas.
I'm not going to be surprised if Buffalo wins. I won't be because I said I'm a big fan of them, and Allen is playing lights out. But and I'll repeat it for the 10th time: Patrick Mahomes at home. There's too many weapons. The only downside I will say with Kansas City is their defense has not been. The Pittsburgh Steelers of the 70s. Let's be real. So Buffalo can score points, and if they do score points, that means Kansas City's going to score points. And I see Mahomes having 4 or 5 touchdown passes.
And like I said, Steve, this is a really great time to be an NFL fan. As dismayed as we are with the policies and things of the NFL, when it comes down to it, it's like a plane crash. You can't look away. I mean, what else are you going to be doing?
Yeah.
But I just so listen. We'd love to hear some feedback from you guys.
Absolutely. If you agree, disagree, we'd love to hear from you, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, and our producer Rob. Ultimately we're getting closer and closer on Sports with Mono and Mono to have some call in and. Love to hear some real-time stuff, but in the short term, send us an email at sports.
We don't want any Weisenheimers calling in either, okay?
But our email stands consistent, sportswithmonoandmono@gmail.com, and we'd love to hear your thoughts and enjoy playoff weekend. It's great.
So I did communicate a couple days ago with one of our loyal listeners, Tony, out in California or Oregon or Washington in the upper Northwest, who's a big San Francisco 49er fan. I had to wait, as I told Tony, about 4 days for me to have my blood pressure come back down after losing. So Tony's a big Niner fan, so I did the gracious thing and tipped my hat to Tony and wish her well against the Green Bay Packers.
Excellent. Listen, just a couple other quick things before we move off the NFL. The Giants hired a general manager, right? So, I mean, that's the step in the right direction. And the difference is it's the first time they didn't hire an in-house general manager since George Young back in 1979. So I love it. It's youth. It's a different view. And, we'd like to thank the Buffalo Bills in advance for Joe Shine, however you want to pronounce it.
Joe Shane. I actually worked with a guy, Shane, who spelled it. The reason I know that is I used to work with a guy named Mike Shane, who spelled it the same way. So it's Joe Shane.
Well, I think that's, excuse me, good news for the Giants. I like the youth. I like the change, the different direction, and let's see who we. Does this mean Brian Dabble, from Buffalo is going to come with them, or is this going to be a Brian Flores thing? Because I know the Maras are big Brian Flores fans, but it's time. It's been 10 years of just despicable football, and again, I kind of hope, and I know you disagree with me, but I still think Daniel Jones is going to be a very capable quarterback in this league.
He's got one more year to prove it, Jim.
Huh?
He's got 1 year to prove it.
Okay.
But I think it's a good hire. And actually, if you look at Shane's resume, he actually the tuna, Bill Parcells. I mean, they down in Miami when Tuna's latter end of his career.
Yep.
But if the tuna signs off on a kid who was a kid at the time, and you could see Shane's ascent up to the GM. He actually started. I think he started in Carolina as a ticket
intern.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that success story, climbing the corporate ladder. I'm thinking Brian Flores because he's from Brooklyn, and actually he's a Boston College kid. And if I remember correctly, our friend August Hoffman,
they were roommates.
Correct. That ex St. Joe's head coach, now on the Rutgers staff, are pals. And I listen, Dayball, it could be the guy, but I like Brian Flores. I like the fire that this guy brings.
I do too.
And
so let's just say
he's got head coaching experience.
Let's just say the Giants are trending in the right direction by
well, they can't trend any worse.
We thought that 4 years ago, and it didn't.
No, well, they can't.
And just a couple other quick notes. The Panthers hired former Giants coach Ben McAdoo, offensive coordinator.
Yep.
Good luck with that.
No, I'm also hearing the Panthers really want Deshaun Watson. We'll see how this plays out.
They can have him.
Oh, they can have him all they want.
They could have him.
Absolutely.
And so, also the Washington football team will be announcing their new name come February 2nd, I believe. So
the Washington Redskins you're talking about.
It's not going to be the Redskins. That much we do know, but that's happening.
I've stated that to me they're the Washington Redskins. So that's it. That's me.
And listen, Steve, this time next week we'll be talking about, the other teams that have coaching vacancies and GM vacancies. They're going to start to fill up. You don't want to wait. You want to get who you want and get them quickly. So this time next week we'll do our recap for the NFL games, of course, and then we'll see what the coaching carousel looks like starting next week, and I'm sure there'll be some changes. Well,
I'm actually rooting for Jim Caldwell to get one of the gigs. Jim Caldwell, I find it odd that he hasn't been employed as a head coach since the Detroit Lions fired him. The Detroit Lions fired him. You know what his record was in Detroit? 36-27, which might as well be Vince Lombardi with the Green Bay Packers with the Detroit Lions, if you think.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Right?
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Jim Caldwell, the downside to Jim Caldwell is that he's going to turn 70 years old, so that may keep some teams away from him. But this is a football guy. He is revered by his players.
Yeah,
Jim Caldwell, I hope, gets a head coaching gig.
Right.
Anybody.
Yeah. And listen, we hate to, as I told you last year, the draft talk is 3 months and 4 months ahead of time, but that's starting already. But we're not covering that yet. We'll get to that as we get closer to.
This is not a sexy draft, but
right.
In any stretch of the imagination this year. Let's be real.
Yep. So listen, we got a lot of things to cover. So we'll get back. I mean, this is kind of NFL week. I just wanted to kind of give a quick recap on the Novak Djokovic. I think Australia made the right call. He was trying to bypass the system, so he was out.
Yeah.
That opens the door for Rafael Nadal, who looks, well on his way to winning the Australian Open. And on the women's side, kind of a lot of surprises already. Naomi Osaka gets knocked out by a young American, Anna Nisimov. So the women's side is pretty wide open. But I did want to bring up one guy who's actually two guys, because they're on the men's side. And this Nick Kyrgios, I couldn't be more sick of this guy's antics. And he has never won anything. And he will never win anything. But he just tries to be the focus of attention. And I have had enough of him. He got knocked out. Good riddance. No surprise there. But how about this? One other guy, he only won, I think he's only won 2 Grand Slams, is Andy Murray. Okay. Time has caught up with you. He's always got something to say, but you know what? He's not a formidable guy anymore. Move on.
Andy Murray won Wimbledon, correct?
Yeah, I think he won
43 years ago.
Yeah, I think he's won one other one too.
Andy Murray won Wimbledon, and he's a Brit. That's it. Okay.
Exactly. But I wanted to bring that up, and
he is royalty. He can have tea and crumpets with the Queen Mum anytime he wants when you win Wimbledon as a Brit.
Yeah.
But I mean, let's be real. His time is faded.
It's
time. Bye-bye.
It's time.
Right.
But I know Mike Garvey's sitting there saying, talk about tennis, because it's the Australian Open. And, what's good about
the daughter of the Buffalo Bills, the Pagulas, their daughter, I think, reached the 4th round. Jenny, I think her name is.
She had a good run in the U.S. Open last year.
Yeah, but she just, I know she's just advanced, so she might be playing today.
Yeah.
But she's the daughter of the Bills owners. So
okay.
I thought that was cool.
All right. And there's other things. We'll get back to the NBA. Not much going on there.
Excuse me. We talked yesterday. There's a lot going on in the NBA.
I knew you were going to bring this up.
Boogie Cousins signed a 10-day contract.
His 4th team in 2 years.
Oh my God!
Yeah, we can't even. And if we talk about ball going to the Celtics,
is with the Nuggets for the next 10 days.
All right.
Well, it's probably about 8 days now until Boogie signs another 10-day deal with somebody else.
Yep.
But when you have the Boogie Cousins of the world in the NBA, Jim and I spoke yesterday, and we kind of said to ourselves, "This is why." It's the number 4 sport in our pecking order of love and interest. When the NBA in our youth was right up there, man. We remember the '73 New York Knicks winning the World Championship, which was just fantastic.
Awesome. Bill Walton and the Portland Trailblazers and Sigma and the Supersonics, we loved it. And then of course the Jordan, Bird, Johnson era, that was basketball. Yeah. We don't see a lot of that anymore. That's why it's, as Steve said, 4th in the pecking order for us.
Right.
The NHL coming up on the All-Star break, but I wanted to give a little kudos to you because Alexander Ovechkin leads the league with 28 goals. I got to tell you also, though, I mean, I know we're Ranger fans, but I've been watching them. They lost last night, but they look really, really good, and they're fun to watch.
You see, folks, there he is. There's the new addition in the back. You see number 99 there.
Yep. So anyway, we'll get back to our normal, gambit of sports, but this is football weekend, and let's just move on to our random points of interest segment. And our previous segments, of course, were sponsored by Lynch Toyota of Manchester, Connecticut, and we couldn't thank them more for their sponsorship week after week. And
thank you, Mike.
Steve, real quick, we'll just throw these out there, random points. Your guy Chip Kelly, I know you're a big Chip Kelly fan, got a 4-year renewal contract at UCLA.
I never said I was a big Chip Kelly fan.
Despite his 18-25 record, he got a 4-year deal. So good for him. He's got a great agent.
Yep.
Great agent.
Great for UCLA.
How about this? The Mets are going to retire Keith Hernandez as number 17. And my initial thought was, I don't have a problem with that. I think Keith Hernandez was a great player. But if you're going to retire his number, don't you retire Dwight Gooden's number?
Yeah, no, I got a problem with this. This is
right, but don't you retire Gary Carter or Dwight Gooden? You know, right?
I got a problem with this. Yes, is Keith Hernandez, the 1979 co-MVP? Yeah, Keith Hernandez instrumental in the New York Mets winning the '86 World Series. Yeah. I'm not retiring Keith Hernandez's Mets number. No chance.
I agree with you. I saw it. I said, well, this is.
I didn't even debate this one when I read it. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Now, and again, that's, so we always reference Seinfeld. Boy, if you thought he was, because I'm Keith Hernandez. Wow. Wait till you see him after that number's up, hanging up. Yeah, I'm really Keith Hernandez.
Right, but a couple of, I agree with you. I mean, if you're going to do that, then you better do Dwight Gooden's, because outside of Seaver and Kuzman, he's the best pitcher in Mets history.
Right, and let's be real. Dwight Gooden has been struggling with drug addiction for the past 25 years. Yep. I think the Mets would probably be. They would send an investigator beforehand to see what Dwight looks like before they would have him as a public appearance retiring his number.
But those
but if you're talking about retiring a number, Dwight Gooden, my God, he was so super talented for those years. It was incredible.
Just a couple other quick little things. We talked about this Michigan scandal, if you will, and Bo Schembechler's culpability. To be quite honest with you, this just goes to show that sports are bigger than anything. In any university, and in particular Michigan, they settled these sex abuse cases by Dr. Robert Anderson for $490 million. But that doesn't dismiss and override their culpability in this. It was a disgrace, and no amount of money can give those people their dignity back for being, subjected to that kind of abuse, especially when the school knew about it.
No question.
They knew about it.
No question. We talked about Michigan State and now Michigan and Penn State and listen, we know there's going to be another one in whether it's this year, next year, what have you.
Yep.
And then you talk about the Olympic Committee and the gymnasts and the amount of money that has been paid out to the victims. It's just terrible. It's just so terrible. Yes, the money, obviously,
it doesn't
compensation. It does not even pale into the victimization of these.
No, it doesn't.
Athletes over the. And again, it was unchecked for decades.
It was
decades. So,
and you know what? Robert Anderson, you could rot in hell.
Oh, no question.
I wish he was still alive so he could share a cell with Dr. Larry Nassar.
Dr. Nassar, I'm sure, is in well demand in where he's at right now. I hope Nassar lives till he's fucking 90.
And listen, one last thing, which I thought was interesting. That Kevin Ollie, remember when he was fired from UConn?
Correct.
An arbitrator ruled in his favor. And when you think about it, this guy wasn't as corrupt as, let's say, a Patino or a Cowboys. I mean, what he did, yes, broke the rules, but fireable? I couldn't agree more that Connecticut was on the hook for that basis of the contract. He took them to a national championship, and you know what? He didn't do anything any worse than some of the other coaches in this league. And I thought that was interesting that he got that verdict in his favor. $11 million. Congratulations, and he belongs back in the NCAA coaching somebody.
Yes, Kevin Ollie played for UConn. Kevin Ollie bleeds UConn. Kevin Ollie. I'm not happy that an arbitrator ruled in his favor.
Me too.
And then like you mentioned, when you talk about the Bruce Pearls and the Kelvin Sampsons and the Eddie Suttons of
Oh.
the day, the Sean Miller, where you have the FBI in Arizona listening on.
Yeah, this was
calls.
nowhere near that.
Rick Pitino not knowing that, hookers and everything are coming into Louisville. Come on. I mean, let's be real here.
This was him taking recruits out to dinner with Ray Allen and former Connecticut. But I wanted to bring that up. And that's our random points. But let's go to our notable passing segment, because unfortunately, this is, it's kind of been a busy week. And I'm going to start it off with one that just came out on the wire today. Shocking to you and I, because we're both huge, huge fans. Clark Gillies, 67. Stanley Cup champion, captain of the Islanders, Stanley Cup team.
Number 9.
Oh,
we revered Clark Gillies. We're Ranger fans. We've said in the past. I mean, we just worship the New York Islanders. That four Stanley Cup run. Al Arbor, but Clark Gillies was the captain. Clark Gillies was, if not the toughest guy in that era. Nobody. You didn't want to mess with Clark Gillies, man. And Clark Gillies was an Islander through and through.
When we talk about enforcers in the NHL, we said some tough guys lost one here and there. Clark Gillies never lost any of them. And you know what? I realized.
And he was a talented hockey player too. Clark Gillies could put the puck in the net. He was.
You know what? He had 319 career goals, which. Yeah, you wouldn't think of a tough guy having that kind of 300 goals is unbelievable.
Yep.
And as Mike Garvey,
a lot of it was, get out of the way. Oh, yes, sir, Mr. Gillies. Here you go. but that was a tough one. It just came off the press, and
it did. And it was a tough one. Mike Garvey from Naples, one of our dear friends. Him and I played at Clark Gillies' golf course in Long Island, 15, 20 years ago, and. On the golf course, he's a 4-time, club champion at a golf course. So he had that unbelievable talent both on and off the ice. Big loss for us. Number 9, R.I.P. Clark Gillies.
R.I.P. Clark Gillies, no question.
Another one other one from the world of sports was Lucia Harris. And somebody say, well, who was she? She was the only woman drafted. Well, I don't want to say only woman. First woman drafted by an NBA team. She was 66, I think. But she was, she was a inaugural member of the women's Olympic basketball team and literally scored the first basket for U.S. in Olympic history.
Yeah.
Just an absolute role model for future WNBA players. And, she really was. She was a class act, and that was a big loss for the world of basketball.
I concur. R.I.P., young lady.
Yeah, it was actually it was Lucia, not Lucia. Louisa. But that was, all of the women that are playing in this league owe a debt of gratitude to her. So I wanted to bring that up.
I agree.
Couple other ones before we wrap up, and this is. Steve and I have always advocated, how we support our veterans. And a Charles McGee, 102 years old, one of the last remaining member of the Tuskegee Airmen, passed away.
Yeah.
Native of New Orleans, just, you want to talk about a role model. He drafted into the Army during the segregation period, and this guy became, a pilot and just an all-around role model for people, and I couldn't possibly have wrapped up our show without bringing his passing on.
No question. 102 years old. Thank you for your service. For those that don't know about the Tuskegee Airmen, an all-black pilot, during World War II.
Fighter
pilots, and,
great.
They contributed mightily to the cause.
Couldn't not mention
Unfortunately, Father Time gets us all, and 102, R.I.P.
Yep. So there's a couple other ones, and one I forgot to bring up last week was the passing of Sidney Poitier, of course. Just a great actor and a class act all together as well. Couple from the world of entertainment, and I know that this hits Rob Garanti pretty hard because he's a DJ, and Meatloaf passed away. And you say what you want about the guy, but that album, and that was in my high school days and your high school days, it was big.
Yeah, I was middle school. It came out in '77.
Still one of the top selling albums of all time.
So I think it came out towards I was heading into 8th grade type of thing.
Yep. But it was a great album.
He sold over 100 million albums. That album itself, I had a little laugh with a couple friends about Phil Rizzuto, who's featured on the song, and I made a little funny. I said, I tell you, White, but Bill White was his broadcast partner with Messer. I tell you, White, I got to go down to Manhattan and do a recording on a record, and I'm getting a free meatloaf dinner afterwards.
Oh, man.
That's how Phil Rizzuto just didn't know what was up, what was down. But Meatloaf, R.I.P. Well done. He was in 68 movies too. 68.
I know he had bit parts in a lot of things.
Don't matter.
But anyway,
Rocky
Horror was no bit part.
He was in Rocky Horror, and apparently he opened for the Grateful Dead in 1968. Somebody said.
Oh, I can't
No.
that. But.
No, Meatloaf, R.I.P. I mean, that album.
And one other from the world, and Steve and I, we pride ourselves on our comedic delivery at times. Louis Anderson passed away yesterday.
Did you ever notice?
You ever notice I haven't been able to find a dentist to fix this?
Really?
But he had some good moments. He was kind of funny, made a great career, but he passed away yesterday too.
Well, we have a comment from Mr. Garvey. Keith was the top 5 first baseman for years. I agree.
No question about it.
But that was also with the St. Louis Cardinals. And
that's right.
I can't. I'm sorry. You're not going to sway me. I don't believe the Mets should retire his number.
And as pivotal as he was on
not even in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
He's not in the Hall of Fame.
He should probably be in the Hall of Fame, but when you look at it from a Mets perspective, he only played 5 years with the Mets. So we respect your opinion, though, Michael.
He's going to be in the Hall of Fame, because everybody and their mother gets into the Hall of Fame now.
Yep. One last notable from the world of music was Ralph Emery, big in country music, and he was kind of the country music DJ to the stars kind of thing, and he was 88 years old, but he had a pretty good run, country music. So anyway, guys, it's divisional football weekend. Enjoy the game. Steve, we got our picks. Let's see how we do. Yep. Hopefully better than last week for me. Yeah. Welcome back, brother. And,
thank you. And again,
thank Rob for behind the scenes for producing the show, and we look forward to the next show. So
you bet.
Enjoy the game. See you guys next week.
You got it. Have a good week, everybody.